Canadian Nuclear Laboratories' proposal for a near-surface disposal facility, or NSDF, is a responsible solution for low-level waste that will be generated from the cleanup mission at Chalk River. Let's move this environmental solution forward. Say yes to NSDF. Visit the Virtual Visitor Centre at engagewithcnl.ca/NSDF to learn more and how you can support this initiative. We encourage you to have your say.
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Construction Record Express. I'm digital media editor Warren Frey, and with me today, as ever,
staff writer Russell Hixson for the Journal of Commerce, the illustrious paper of Western Canadian construction.
And Western Canada, or at least Vancouver, is looking pretty nice as of about an hour ago when I glanced outside and it was very sunny. How are things in East Van?
Things in East Van are windy, getting ready to plant the garden as soon as it warms up. Hoping to take another crack at my tomatoes, but I am not confident. If anybody got some tips, email me.
Garden tips and construction tips, either or.
Sure.
Possibly both in the same thing.
Tweet your tomato tips at me.
On that note, what are you working on this week, Russ?
Well, I talked to officials at Saint-Gobain, which operates as Certainteed for making building supplies in Western Canada. They make gypsum wallboard. I believe they're the only manufacturer of these kinds of products in the region. And they're doing a major project to capture heat at their manufacturing facility. So they're hoping to cut down on their energy and wasteful emissions by roughly 10%. And it's part of a larger strategy by Saint-Gobain, which is a global company. I believe they're based in France. And they're trying to become net zero by 2050. And then this is a global effort. So all of their operations in every country, they're hoping to begin working towards this. And this is part of their steps in Canada. And so they're going to do a heat exchanger at their facility and, make it a lot more efficient. And they're getting some funding from the province. They're getting some assistance so they can remain competitive in the market. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So I talked to them about that, and I have all the details that should be coming out as soon as the flurry of federal budget activity dies down. That will likely come out, but remains to be seen how much news comes out of the federal budget. But I'm guessing we're going to have lots to talk about and write about next time me and you chat.
Oh yeah, that's a very good point. Keep an eye out, listeners, for I guess when this comes out, it'll be Wednesday. So tomorrow we'll be having, and Friday, of course, we'll be having plenty of coverage, both in podcast and in written form about the budget.
It is all hands on keyboard for the Journal of Commerce.
Absolutely, from both DCN and the JOC side. Okay, what else have you got going on?
Well, there was a bit of disagreement between the Union of BC Municipalities and the Homebuilders Association of BC about affordable housing. As you and I know, one of the biggest issues facing people in the region is where to live. And the rising cost of housing in Metro Vancouver and BC in general. And there's a lot of discussion about what causes this. Is it a supply issue? Are there ways that municipalities can streamline construction to get more supply? Is that supply affordable? There's a report from the Union of BC Municipalities that talked about how, supply is ramping up, but it's not always the right kind of supply. So it's not always affordable supply, and there needs to be other efforts made to ensure that the supply that is being built is actually going to address the issue. And the home builders didn't feel like they were representing the information correctly, and they talked about how there still are a lot of issues with getting supply built because of red tape and various issues and costs and fees and some of these barriers that are put to getting supply. And they thought that was, I don't want to speak for them. Maybe I'll paraphrase a bit. I feel like they thought that was downplayed in the report. and they wanted to make sure that was known that that's still an issue for a lot of them. And I have a lot more details and comments from both. But yeah, the issue of affordable housing and housing supply is huge in Metro, and also in out east too for people who are in the Greater Toronto area. I know that's also an issue of rising costs for places to live.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we see something or a lot of something in the budget about it this Thursday.
Yes, whenever they poll voters, usually usually it's like in the top. It's often number one or in the top three is housing / affordability. Just the cost to exist and live and have a roof over your head is one of the most critical things for Canadians when they're going to the polls and voting. And when they're hearing from various politicians, that's what they want to hear about. So I'm assuming that the federal budget is going to have a lot to say about that.
Okay, anything else?
That's it, Mr. Frey.
And from the East, Daily Commercial News staff writer Angela Gismondi spoke to Guy Chartrand, Vice President of Business Operations at Priestly Demolition, about the company's recent majority acquisition of Jones Group Ltd. The two major players in the demolition industry in the province will join forces to expand their operations to facilitate larger demolition, abatement, and remediation projects in Canada and the U.S. The Jones Group is headquartered in Windsor, Ontario, and their proximity to the border will provide easier access to the U.S. Chartrand said the deal will help both companies grow. And Daily Commercial News staff writer Don Wall recently wrote on the Montreal real estate boom. Montrealers serving on a recent Urban Land Institute panel offered multiple reasons for their city's commercial real estate renaissance, but their enthusiasm was greatest when talking about the transformative nature of the REM light rail project. The first phase of the 26-station, 67-kilometer automated transit line is slated to open before the end of the year. The network, a project of CDPQ Infra with billions in support from the Quebec government and the Canada Infrastructure Bank, will initially link the South Shore to downtown Montreal. That had Mark Hetu, who is a senior vice president for apartments with CBRE, counting the ways the REM has stimulated the residential investment market in the city. Hetu was one of the 5 panelists at the March 21 ULI Toronto webinar billed as Pulse Check Montreal. Quote, in terms of how the REM has positively impacted the residential market, for obvious reasons it's opened up new markets for my investors who look for large multi-residential projects to invest in, said Hetu. It helps them tick an extra box, which is accessibility and transport in pockets of the city that previously were just non-starters for them, end quote. And that's it for this week's TCR Express. If you'd like to hear more episodes or our Friday episodes of the Construction Record Podcast, you can listen to us on Apple Music, Amazon Music, and Spotify, or on the Daily Commercial News or Journal of Commerce websites. Thanks for listening.